Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Without Having Kicked a Ball, a live show this week for reasons, and we are going to be breaking down the whole of the match week of the Premier League and the FL. So let's get straight into it. I'll introduce myself first. It is, of course, Jordan, also known as JLI Wheels. And I am your host today. Joining me is the man whose channel this is on, Mr. Tube Mix, aka Will. Hello. Who the fuck did you call me that? Anyway, he's not doing on this one. Right, anyway. Right, fuck him, he's not doing it. Joining me today
Hang on, start again.
It's a live stream, you don't start again. Joining me is not Mr. Tube Mix, sod him. We have got Ben Carney of Ben's Football Folio fame. Hello, mate, how are you doing?
I'm alright, thank you, George. How are you?
Yeah, well, ready to get going. And also joining me is Mr. Sam Taylor. Hello, mate.
Hi, you alright? Don't
Come on, this will be good, I promise. This will be good. If I'm steering it, we'll be fine.
Right. Just because he says it's not ours, we can down tools.
Look. I didn't know. Okay, let's just crack on. Right. So to start, there's only really one place to start, and that's at Old Trafford on a Sunday. Now, of course, Ben was there. Sam is a United fan, so I wanted to be the one to kind of get my 2 pence out there first, just for the sake of some sort of fairness, even though it's very well documented that I hate Man United, but there we go. I'd like to say that there was a lot of talk about how sloppy there's how sloppy Man United were in possession and giving the ball away and general play and things like that. I didn't really see the game that way, or at least not in the first half, definitely in the second. I felt like it was two teams that were... Do you know what? I actually felt like the first few minutes were quite refreshing, because it was quite messy, and both teams were going for it. They're both losing possession, both kind of rushing, both putting tackles in, both breaking away, and different things like that. And then, of course, we get the two, Casemiro loses possession twice. First time is the goal for Luis Diaz, the header, which I think Dominic Szoboszlai thought he touched, but he didn't. And then the second one was another Luis Diaz goal. Finished off with the third goal in the second half by Mo Salah. Now, as I said, terrible. I just wanted to put it out there that I actually didn't think first half United and Liverpool were both sloppy in possession. I just think that the difference is that United were getting the ball in areas where they could do something with it, and well, we've already been swearing a lot on this podcast, so I'll just say they fucking shit themselves, because they did. A very low on confidence team, and yeah, I just yet again, as we between us, because obviously the football show has been on hiatus for a few years for the season. As we've said under the Ten Hag reign very often, just not really sure where United go from here. It doesn't seem very, they got that win against Fulham. They were better, but overall pretty poor against Brighton. And then I genuinely feel like they were shocking. Oh, yeah. I do want to point out Toby Collier, who came on for his debut, was pretty good. Other than that, absolutely next to nothing to say positive. Obviously, Ben, you were there, so I want to get Sam's opinion first.
No
I think
worries,
your experience will be completely separate to ours. So yeah, Samuel.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind, Mr. Well, yeah, actually, no, I will say mine first. I was going to say it'd be good to get Ben's overall feeling of the game first, because he will have more insight than I had being at the ground, but I will proceed. It's strange, isn't it? Because United, Liverpool, or Liverpool United, the fixture throughout the years has been such a big one of the biggest football rivalries in the world, between the two sides, with them being the two most successful clubs in the country. But over the last 8-9 years, Liverpool have dominated, really. The fixture, barring a couple of results we've had in the cup last year and a couple in the league, but we are United are just an average upper mid-table side. That's what we are. That's what we've been for the last 3 years. Yeah, we've won the FA Cup. Yeah, we've won the League Cup, and you'd say, well, that's a bit more than just an average mid. I'm not on about an average side in the country. Obviously, we're one of the best sides in the country because we play in the Premier League. But at that elite level, we're just upper mid-table. That is it. And our players are upper mid-table players. That is just where we are. And yeah, the club's had a reshape. And yes, the club is, under not new ownership, but new people running the football club. But the players just aren't good enough. And the manager, but I know Ben will have a say in a minute, and he is a Ten Hag fan, and I respect that. And it doesn't all rest at Ten Hag's door. Of course it doesn't. The players should take responsibility for themselves as well. But, there's a lot of experience out there. But that's just what we are. Regarding the game itself, we started well. But in a weird way, because everybody said, "Oh, we'll draw this game, or United will win," or most people predicted a draw. But I said right from the off, I said to Robbie, who comes on this show quite a bit. I said to Will the other day, I said to Jordan, and I've said it to all of you and my family and anybody who I know is interested in football, saying that we will lose. And everybody on social media was going, "Oh, we've started well, first 10, 15 minutes." But that's the bare minimum. That is the bare minimum, because we're the home team. So even though Liverpool didn't start great and we started okay, you expect us, Liverpool would have said, well, United are going to start fast. Let's weather the storm. And once we weather the storm, our quality will come through. And they will make mistakes, because United always cough up the ball as a team. I'm not just individually going at Manu or Casemiro, but they would have said that anyway. Team, we could have been playing a League Two side, and we all know that. Say we were playing Crewe, right, who we support, at Gresty Road, which is Crewe's ground. First 10 minutes, Crewe are going to give us everything they've got. They're going to be on the front foot because they're going to want to start the game well and get the fans up. Now, eventually, a team like United the quality would shine through and they get the win. Well, that's the same in a slightly different way, but a similar principle to what happened on Sunday. United started fast, but what else do we expect? That's what they were always going to do. And Liverpool just went, we haven't really got anything to worry about. Sit in for 25 minutes, half an hour, weather the storm, and then we'll start playing. And that's what happened. And for me, the individual errors obviously cost us, but in that first half, Liverpool were in second gear, and we were probably 4.5 gear. Up until they scored. So, and their second gear is not that much different from our 4.5 gear because they're such more better, well organised, well drilled, better players than we've got. So, Casemiro, obviously, he can't, I don't know what he was trying to do. He's gone for a pass that isn't there rather than playing it simple. And then for the second goal, he goes over too easily and gets robbed. But the worrying thing for me is first half, because it was 2-0 at half time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So 1-0, you're thinking, right, that mistake's happened. We've actually played okay. Let's keep it tight. Just till half time. Let's do what Liverpool have been doing to us and keep it tight. If that means getting everybody behind the ball, I know we're the home team, but they've just scored before half time. So you stay nice and tight till half time. Second half, regroup, let's come out at them again. Because their tails were up. When their tails are up, you can't always fight fire with fire at that moment. But the old, I can almost accept the individual mistakes because that's football. And the reality is, this team's not really good enough to be challenging for the upper echelons of the league. And I can accept that. But at 1-0, and I'd been there, I played power chair football, and any sport you play, when you are under the most pressure, as we were when we went behind, the old cracks, which I've not really seen this season, even in the Brighton game, the old cracks started to appear. What do I mean by the old cracks? I mean the floodgates opening in midfield when the opposition have the ball. One pass and they're in behind us. The midfield being nowhere. So I can almost accept the individual mistakes because, fortunately, that's just where we're at right now. But the fact that your biggest thing in sport is you've got to avoid the temptation as a team and as an individual to default back to what you're comfortable with. In the Boucher football I play, I sometimes have a too big a swing when I'm hitting the ball rather than punching the ball, which is more effective. And when I'm under pressure, I start big hitting it again and mistiming the ball. And that's what happened to the United lot. The midfield opened, we started making the wrong choices. We were too easy to play against. That's just a default, and that comes down to coaching. You've got muscle memory. Your muscle memory will only work. Ronaldo only scores the goals he does because of his mentality, yes, but because his repetition that many times that when the pressure's on, he can deliver in the big moments still because he's true to his technique. And that's the same as a side. We just didn't stay true to what we've obviously been told, which is to be more sure in midfield and more compact, which I think we've seen a lot of. As soon as we got put under pressure by a good side, we folded in that. It was like the opening of the seas again. So I can almost accept 2-0 down at half time and the two mistakes. But what I can't accept is how we got dominated second half, and it was like watching us last season. And the final point I'd like to make, because I know I've rambled on a lot, and Ben wants his say, and Ben was at the game, and I'm really excited to get his opinion on it, is that I was thinking yesterday, if you were doing a United Liverpool combined 11, most seasons, it might be 60-40 either way or 50-50. You could argue that not one Man United player will get in the Liverpool starting 11 at the minute. You could also argue that the two players who get in the squad and maybe will get in the 11 are Mainu and Fernandes. But that's it. And they might not even get in the starting 11. They might not. Might for some games, might not for others. But for Man United to have stooped that low just shows where we are. And Liverpool must, it's a big fixture historically. But they must look at it now going, it's hard to get up for this game because we don't have to get out of third gear to beat these most times anymore. Our biggest games are City, Arsenal, City and Arsenal now. Yeah, Everton and United might be the biggest games in geographically and all the history. Well, they don't have to get out of second gear. You can hardly break sweat anymore. Anyway, that's my opinion, and I'll hand over to...
Just to interrupt, and I'll let Ben say his piece. Do you really think Fernandes gets into that team? Because I don't. I think based on pure attitude, based on his attitude and the way he is, very individual, I don't think he gets in.
I'm not saying, George, that they would get into that team. What I'm saying is they're the only two players that you could make a case for getting in that team. None of the others are good enough to get anywhere near it. I agree with you with what Fernandes' attitude, but they're the only two players, in my opinion, currently, that are anywhere near beginning to even be good enough to get in that side.
Yeah, fair. Okay, Ben.
Right, so obviously, as the boys have said, I was at the game, and before kick-off, the atmosphere was raucous. There was actually quite a lot of hope around us, and it was very hopeful, but the game plan straight from the off was wrong. And as Sam mentioned, I'm a fan of Ten Hag, but yesterday he got it completely wrong. Yes, he can't legislate for the Casemiro mistakes, who had a howler of a half and was rightly hooked. But the way we were set up, we were set up to counter, and when you do that, you only get a few chances of a game. And when our chances did come our way, we weren't clinical enough. And Liverpool, on the other hand, were the exact opposite of it. But now I will get into what I thought of how we were set up. I briefly mentioned I thought it was completely wrong. And as Sam mentioned, it was shades of last season. We were too easy to go at. There was no sort of communication, a few times, which we've seen throughout last season. The ball was with Onana, he'd lump it up the pitch, and Dallo would be the one to make a forward run and join the attack. Now, I know that might be a case of overload the attack. But what that does is it forces Dallo out of position and it causes an overload for Liverpool's attack because all they have to do is bypass the press in midfield, and because Dallo's getting back into position, it's quite often a 3-on-4, say for example, and then it's so easy to create a goal scoring opportunity, or certainly a goal scoring chance. And very, very early on, you could see that was the way it was going to go. I know we started well, but as Sam said, you'd expect us to as the home team. And yeah, I just thought Ten Hag got it completely wrong. Casemiro, I don't think he should play for United again. I think, personally, I can see, I watch him live, his body language is wrong, and the likes of Scott McTominay, he might not have the same ability as Casemiro, but he bleeds United and he'll run for you, and every single team needs a player like that. I don't care if you're Manchester City or bloody Sheffield United. Every team needs a player like that. And Ten Hag as a whole, yes, Sam's right. I'm a fan of Ten Hag and I've backed him, and I will continue to do so. But what I will say, it's now his third season, and yesterday there was no progression from last season whatsoever. So he's making it harder to back him. And I don't know if you two saw it, but he obviously came up with a couple of excuses. Now, one of them was we won the most trophies after City since I've been here. Now that is a fact, but it still shows a poor mentality because you're clutching at straws there a little bit, and I think that's a problem with United. The standards have slipped, and we need to get back up to the right standards.
Don't you think, man? Sorry, just to cut in there. Don't you think that it's funny that every man and his dog, the casual fans, the neutrals, the pundits, they can all see the problems. And I suppose this is a comment for Sam as well. Everybody can see the problems, except for the only man that seems to not be able to see it is the man who's demanded you.
Yeah, well,
and it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder what kind of conversations the likes of to Jim Radcliffe, who we obviously saw on Sky Sports, sort of looking like on the verge of like depression, quite rightly after he's had to watch that. But there's all you've got Omar Barada, who was obviously a massive part in City being such a winning machine, and then guys like Jason Wilcox and Dan Ashworth. And do they think that this is, do they think that this is okay, and do they think that this is the standard United should be set? Because that's what's weird for me. Like you said, the mentality is just completely off.
Well, exactly, and just picking up on that, Joe. Obviously, no matter if you lose to Liverpool or any game and still play well, of course it's gonna hurt. But there's a way to lose a game of football, and you've got to have the right application. You've got to have the right attitude. There's a way to lose it, and yesterday wasn't it. So I do think that. I also think another another reason before I get back to Ten Hag that Sam didn't mention, and I think I mentioned it to you, Jord, off air, is that obviously Hoyland and Xerxes, they're both still young, raw talents. Hoyland obviously showed it in flashes last season, but it does concern me thinking where are the goals going to come from? Because, Rashford would be seen as like a talisman, certainly of the attacking players, but he hasn't performed at a high level for at least 12 months, maybe even 18 months. So uh, unless there's a drastic change and Ten Hag stops being stubborn and maybe Ugarte comes in and changes it like Casemiro did in his first season, I can see it going from bad to worse. I'm Ten Hag. I've backed him and I will continue to do so certainly until Christmas. But this is his team now. He's got nowhere to hide, and the excuses. I don't like the excuses because I think when a manager constantly comes up with excuses, not even just the City excuse, the XG excuse. Because as I said to you, George, XG is good for breaking down a game. But if you watched the game with your own eyes, you would have seen we got absolutely mauled. And it was lucky it was only 3. Could have been 5.
Yeah, and like I said to you as well, XG is only really helpful if you've won the game.
Yeah. So,
And it like those kind of like to use those kind of stats and say, oh well, we had more XG. You had more
yeah.
XG and you fucking lost.
Yeah.
Realistically, if you've had more XG, the chances that you're creating are easier to score than the ones they did, and they scored 3 and you scored 0.
Well, it goes to the thing. I mean, I agree with everything you've said. With everything you've said there, then you've honestly, it was brilliant analogy. Really good. And I'd just like to pick up a couple of points that you made before going back to you before we move on, and asking you a couple of things. But what Ben says is you need a bit of everything. You need your flair players. You need players like your Lee Cattermoles at Sunderland, who would give you 7 out of 10 every week. Your James Milners. You need those types of players as well as your flair players, isn't it? Is it? So Conor Gallagher, he's come to mind when we were talking about Scott McTominay. You need those players in any team. Real Madrid need them. City need them. Anybody, any team at any level needs a mixture of technical players for the level, right down to grassroots. You need your technical players and you need your physical players. There's no point having 11 messes on the pitch, and I'm not saying that's what we've got, but you're absolutely right about the balance and the strengths of players being different from others, complementing the team. Another thing you said that really interested me, Ben, was obviously the performance other than the first half an hour, which wasn't great anyway because both teams were giving the ball away. The tempo was good, but yeah, of the match for the neutral. But everybody says what's more important, results or performance. And results is obviously what keeps a manager in his job or keeps a player at a football club. or whatever. It's a results-based business. But the most important thing, and you guys might disagree, but the most important thing in sport and in football is performance. Because if the performance isn't right, then the results won't come. If you perform badly every week, or below par or just okay, the chances are the results won't come. So without the performance, there will be no result. Now, we could have played brilliantly yesterday, of course, and still lost, but that's United Liverpool because there's great players on the pitch.
And,
There's-
and I do think it's important to say that United under Ten Hag, like the whole time, and I don't just mean last couple of seasons, the whole time under Ten Hag have been the masters of playing like shit and getting away with it. But it will always come back to bite you, always.
Yes, because ultimately the performances are more important than the results, because the two things are linked, because without performance there are no results, or there are very few results you might be clinging. So we can lose to Liverpool anytime. The best teams we've ever had could lose to Liverpool because they've always had great sides, as we have. So, well, not always, but in the main. But I'd just like to pick up on one more point and then go back to Ben just briefly. Gary Neville said something alarming yesterday after the match, and Ben just said something alarming as well. And Ben used the word hope. Hope. At Man United, there's an expectation that there used to be an expectation that we would win. And yeah, of course we won't always win. We know that. Especially against a great team like Liverpool or Arsenal back in the day. But we're using words like hope. Hope. There's hope in the air that we might do something rather than expectation. And that just shows how far Manchester United as a club and the expectation of the fans were hoping for a performance. We're not expecting a performance. And by a performance, I don't necessarily mean winning. I mean playing well. We're hoping that we'll play well and give ourselves a chance to win. We're not expecting. There's hope in the air. There's hope. There should be hope in the air when Ipswich play United. There should be hope on their half. And then when they played Liverpool, there was hope in the air. They didn't expect to win. And that's kind of where we've come now. We're hoping. We're hoping that from somewhere we'll find something. And Gary Neville said yesterday after the game, he said, United don't look like they have a pattern of play again at times in that game. And maybe they'll stumble across something. And I couldn't believe it. Formation, it was like formation and tactically. Hopefully, Manchester United will stumble across something. And that's not the words of it. I know that's from Gary Neville, but he would have never have said that in his day. Hope, stumble, the words that wouldn't be used. And yeah, I just think it shows as fans and as a club where we are. But the last point I'd like to ask Ben, which we haven't touched on, was obviously, Ben, by the end of the game, I don't know if you stayed right to the end, but there were 20,000, roughly about 20,000 left by the time the final whistle went. But more United are not normally a group of fans. We're not a group of fans that would boo our team. However poorly we're playing, but there was quite a bit of booing yesterday. Not just when we took Garnacho off, but also when certain players got the ball, there was booing. Were the crowd starting to turn? Because they've stayed with Ten Hag over all this turbulence so far over the last couple of years. Do you think they were starting to turn?
Well, first of all, I wasn't one of the ones who left early. As bad as we were, I'd never do that, no matter what the opposition is. So I wasn't one of the ones who left early. Secondly, it's funny you said that, because I said to my brother, turned to him, and I said, it's turned sour. And it really felt like it had, because, you know, there was results last season that was so bad, you know. Bournemouth away springs to mind. No, Bournemouth at home, sorry, we lost 3-0 or 3-1, I think it was. And the atmosphere was so sour then. But the difference is as you said, the majority of the fan base have always stuck with Ten Hag, at least match-going fans anyway. But yesterday, it felt slightly different. I don't know whether it's because he's been back to the fullest, that the pressure is amplified now. But yeah, it definitely felt different in the air. And Casemiro, obviously, people were getting restless with him. Rashford hasn't been performing for 18 months now, so he's had it a fair few times. But yeah, Ten Hag and Casemiro had it, so it definitely turned sour. But I can't really blame people, to be honest, because as I said, there's a way to win, and yesterday wasn't it, when they were laying, which Jordan touched on. You know, it's humiliating, it's embarrassing, and the worst part about it for me is we've got a 2-week break now, so that'll be stewing over every single fan. That loss, it was a real bad one.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's so much more that I could say about.
Just one last
our-
point, if you don't mind, just while it's on my mind. We talked about, you talked about, Jordan, what Jim Radcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford and Jason Wilcox and Berardi must think of all this, but the point is what one thing I will say: when the rot has set in, it's very difficult to remove. So even though we got these new people, there's been such a shadow over the club for such a long time. Even when Fergie was there, results were on the pitch were okay. There was still this big shadow about the Glaziers off the pitch, and now it's translated over the last 10, 12 years onto the pitch. Once you have a virus in the system which has swept over the club, I'm not just saying it's the Glaziers, well, it starts with the Glaziers, but once that virus spreads, it takes a long time for it to remove, to leave. So even though we got these new people in, it might be the best thing since sliced bread. Who knows? I like some of the things they're trying to do, but it's going to take a while for that virus And I'm not just talking about the players or the manager, but the whole feeling, the whole fog that's been over Manchester United. It takes a while to lift, and it'll take a couple of years to lift, even if they get every decision right from above.
Yeah. No, I'm with it. I found it very funny. Did you see that? Just one thing I wanted to say. Did you see that delict tackle on? Was it Luis Diaz? He absolutely fucking chopped him.
I did. I loved that, to be honest. Despite him getting a booking, I loved it. But yeah,
It was quite.
I could go on about this game, but obviously we've got to cover other things, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, there's lots to cover, and because our main man has decided to do one. I don't know how long we've been going for anyway.
Is
He's still here, but he's still here. I'm just putting shots. I'm just shooting shots. Right, okay. Well, the one thing that I wanted to kind of bring up, and we're going to jump around a little bit. We're going to jump around one more time, and then we're going to carry on. We're going to go back to then Saturday and work that way. But obviously, Chelsea also played on Sunday. We drew on with Palace. The opener from Nicholas Jackson, a well-worked move, cancelled out by a sumptuous finish from Eberechi Eze. And I guess I just wanted to make the point, really, to kind of link these two things of, do we feel like United are a team, compared to United, where, like, they have the players have the ability, but the mentality and the kind of teamwork isn't there. Whereas the way I kind of see Chelsea is they have the mentality and the teamwork seems to be there. We link up really well. It seems to be great. But then apart from somebody like Palmer, and I think Enzo Fernandez also falls into that category, I don't think we have the players to play where we want to be. I see Chelsea as a kind of inverse United, which is really interesting.
I see it the way around. I see it as you guys have the players, we don't have the players that are good enough. You probably don't have enough experience, but I don't think our players are good enough.
I don't see it like that. I see United as a team of individuals, and I think that's part of the problem. You look at those individual names.
They're not good enough.
No, whether they're good enough or they're not, and I don't think it's a case of they're not good enough. I genuinely don't. I think Fernandez is brilliant on his day. I think Rashford could tear any of striker winger up besides maybe Haaland. I think, you're looking at De Ligt, that's a monster centre half, and he's only just started, but that's just, Garnacho is quality, and there is enough in that.
Is De Ligt quality? I mean, it was at Juventus let him go, and Bayern Munich let him go. So he's a good player, and there's no doubt about that. But there are question marks over him for sure.
I
think if you look at, I think the way that you're looking at it is more about Chelsea's ceiling compared to United. I think that a lot of United's team are probably about as good as they're going to get, especially under this manager and this system. Whereas I do think that Chelsea, a lot of the Chelsea players are very, like somebody like Mudryk, right? There's so much of a player there, and there is. But I just don't think he has the. There's something missing, and I don't know what it is. With some of the Chelsea players, I just think that two clubs in very interesting points of projects, but I think that the problem with one is the strength of the other. that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I think that this current Chelsea squad has the potential, because of the way it's been built, to do extremely well. On players alone, I'm not talking about management, whatever. On players and structure, this Chelsea team could go so far.
They are the reverse.
And the way that they seem to play, like you wouldn't believe that almost all of those players, bar some of them, have been playing together for 3 years under Ten Hag. Crazy.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, and you said a very good point. Your eyes don't lie to you, and but it's interesting because ever since the Glazers came in, things have been going downhill for us off the pitch, and then when Fergie left on the pitch. With Chelsea, aren't Chelsea a classic example a bit, George, of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We were broken. It was only Fergie that was keeping it together. It's
Yeah,
evident.
I think it's a little.
Chelsea had a brilliant model. They yes, you could say they should have played a few of their younger players maybe at times because they had a brilliant academy, but they had winners. They brought well. They were well.
You can't avoid the problem with that is you can't avoid what happened with Roman.
No, I know.
Because
I know.
it gets a bit dodgy when it moves into real life kind of politics.
Oh,
Now, and the thing is as well, the
what I'm
thing is as
saying,
well, with these American owners, like some of them are great, yeah. Some of them have done really well and adapted to English football well. But I think that Todd Bowley hasn't really got a clue about football, and that's why I just think some of the moves that they made are very weird. I absolutely love the idea of some of the players we've brought in, although some of the ones they brought in have already gone. We saw in the transfer window, Diego Moreira was sold to Strasbourg, and we brought him in from Benfica. Today we've just sold
Angela.
Angelo Gabriel to Al Nassr for 23 million plus add-ons, which is I think still more than we paid for him, so profit. But he was the big one. He was the first.
Yeah, he was like the next Neymar or something like that.
Yeah. So, but then again, we supposedly signed him with that lad William Estevao, is it?
Yeah.
He's got called up to the Brazil squad, so I'm very excited for him. But anyway, I just think like how much further, for example. I don't want to make it about the coaches because I think that what we've seen from Maresca is extremely good tactically. It's a lot better than what we've had than under the rest of the Bowley regime tactically. Without the players to do it, but he is terrible man management. I think what he has done so far, man management wise, is awful. But then Ten Hag, I think coaching them. So I want to take the managers out of it a little bit and just talk purely about the squad, and just kind of say like with what I've seen from Chelsea, a lot more than under Potter or under Lampard or even sometimes under Poch. We've fought harder in games. We've created more. We've been more positive on the ball. I think there's a lot of positives there tactically, and I think like it's different as well. And I think the one thing that I like about Maresca that I don't like about Ten Hag is Maresca came out and he said, "This is not the same club. This is not the same club." That's what he said. Was it yesterday? He said it yesterday after the game. This is not the same club. And you know what? I really appreciate that because I think that's what like Potter and Lampard and Poch and they're trying to bring Chelsea right back to where they were, and you can't get rid of most of the squad, bring in a load of kids or a load of players who need a lot of work and just go, yeah, this is the same old Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It's
you've
not,
got Ten Hag saying ridiculous things like, "I'm not Harry Potter. I can't wave a wand."
that was funny.
6 weeks or months. Did you see the comment where somebody said, "I'm not being funny, Eric, but if Harry Potter had 600 million to spend, Voldemort would probably be dead by the end of the first book."
Yeah, no,
Like, that sums it up. That sums it up. And like, I just don't get it. Look, I just don't get it. I think there's look, to try and not get too bogged down in things. I think this. And to talk purely about Chelsea for a moment, there is so much to like. There's so much to like, and I feel a lot more positive. I know we drew at home to Palace, and that's not great. That's not a great result. I'm not saying it's a great result, but that key thing that you said, Sam, that I completely agree with. If the performance there, that's a good starting point. And the performance was there, the desire was there, the work rate was there, everything was there. All right, okay. As they equalised, we our heads dropped a bit, and Palace were in the ascendancy. But it's a really inexperienced squad.
Can I ask you something?
Go on.
So you're a Chelsea fan, right? And I agree with what you're saying about the young players, and it's exciting, and they do look hungry. But you have also, since this ownership came in, and over the last couple of years, started changing the way, getting rid of all the experience. Now, I'm not saying squads have to move on, but Chelsea were great at bringing in winners, plus the the young talent that did buy from overseas or wherever. But you've told me at times that Chelsea's had the heart ripped out of it, which I kind of think it has, because if Todd Bowley, right, if Todd Bowley didn't know a lot about football, which he clearly doesn't, surely you'd go, I'm coming into a winning machine here. Chelsea had just won the Champions League. They were Club World Cup champions. They were runners up in the FA Cup. They won the league, several times over the past 7 or 8 years before we got there. So surely if you talk about it, you say, yeah, we'll tweak certain things, maybe try and bring a couple of younger players in, but we're not going to make wholesale changes, because if something isn't broken, I don't need to fix it, because I'm already coming into a well-oiled machine where Ten Hag came into a not very well-oiled machine, but that's a different story. But surely, Todd Bowley, that'd be even more reason to say we've got a world-class manager in Tuchel at the time. I know he might have his issues. We've got and take away the manager actually, but structurally, Roman has put us in the top class bracket. Chelsea is attractive to any player in the world. Chelsea is a winning club. Chelsea is, the fourth most successful or fifth most successful club in England. They've just won the Champions League. They were, so surely come in and go, you know what? My job's pretty easy here, because everything's in place already. And I'm not on about, obviously you change players a bit, but everything's in place.
That's not necessarily true though, because he, like, when Roman left, almost all of that back room, and I don't mean coaches, I mean people like Petr Cech, Maria Granovskaya, like people that were absolutely key to getting those people and doing all that, all left. Like the statement, the Maresca statement of it is a different club is true. Now you're saying to me that I've said to you that it feels like Chelsea's had its heart ripped out. That it has. The Chelsea that we knew, the Chelsea that I knew, the Chelsea that I fell in love with your Eden Hazards and your Aspilicuetas and guys like that. It's not what it is right now. Now
You're happy with that, are you?
I'm not saying
you're happy
no. Look,
you're happy that you were the champions of Europe 18 months before this guy came in. You're happy that you were the champions of Europe and had a very well oiled thing. And I know obviously with Roman all of that happened and he had to go. But surely Todd Bowley should be speaking to these people and saying, stay.
I'm not happy with almost anything at the club right now. I'm happy with two main things. I'm happy with the transfer policy of bringing in the really young, exciting talent like that. Don't necessarily like that they're being sold on, but the one thing I do know is that they're being sold on for significantly more than we paid for them. So that's all good. And I like the fact that Chelsea are actually playing football that isn't just dire.
But they never played.
It has been dire.
They never played football when they were winning stuff when we were kids.
Winning stuff with a guy. They were winning stuff with a guy who was a billionaire who loved football and bringing the best of the best to make that club basically a self-servicing machine. And this is part of the thing about these footballing dynasties, right? What happens to Man City if Man City get found guilty of Man City's charges? And let's say they get dropped down, yeah? Let's say they get dropped down to League Two. How much of that footballing structure stays in place?
Well, none of it. That's a unique set of circumstances. The
whole thing drops, yeah.
Yeah, but that's unique. That's
United after Fergie. Let's say then, United after Fergie. A lot of the same people all still there. Didn't work out for a long time. Club very much changed its ways, and still haven't recovered. You're
missing the point. You're missing the point.
No, I think you think that I'm trying to stick up for Todd Bowley.
No,
I'm not.
You're missing the point. As in, United, Fergie held that together. The glue. As soon as Fergie left, the cracks of the glaziers appeared. What I'm saying to you is, when Todd Bowley brought Chelsea, there were no cracks.
Yeah, but that's because the cracks form because almost all of that infrastructure went with Roman.
Yeah, so
which is nobody's fault.
Todd Bowley? Yeah, but where was he saying, I can't afford to lose? He should have done his research. I can't afford to lose Petr Cech. I can't afford to lose Marina Granovskaya. I can't lose these people. Why was he so?
My personal opinion is I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that he wanted his own men in,
Yeah,
which is fine. So that from stuff that I'd read and seen, he wanted his own men in, which is which you can't say anything against it. Is that what I would have done? No, I would have tried to convince those people to stay. But this guy is an incredibly successful businessman,
yeah, but he had
and
no idea what
and
he was doing. And those people like Czech, like Granaskaya, knew what they were doing.
yeah, but I'm gonna say again, I'm pretty sure that they were always gonna go. From what
No,
I've seen,
Marina Granaskaya stayed for the first transfer.
she stayed to try and smooth the transition out.
Yeah, so where was he going?
Never gonna stay. She was never gonna
They
stay.
should have convinced him. You're telling me that Petr Cech, given half a chance, under a good structure, wouldn't have stayed at Chelsea? He loves Chelsea.
I think Petr Cech probably saw the writing on the wall.
Exactly. He saw the writing on the wall because this owner doesn't have a clue what he's doing. I'm just saying Todd Bowley has made it far harder for himself than it needed to be.
Yeah, and I don't. And by the way, I don't think that the Chelsea project is where Todd Bowley thought it was going to be. By the way,
Well, obviously not.
I reckon that he felt he would come in and do his bits, and then that'd be it. But then they haven't signed any bona fide star. Don't know. Sorry, because when we signed Nkunku, he was one of the top players in Europe, but obviously got injured, so that kind of gets negated. I'm just trying to say that, like, where we are now with the club, going back to where we were, we might be able to get back to that, and I hope we do. But it'll never be the exact same as it was under Roman.
So you're telling me that what are your long-term ambitions for Chelsea? Surely you want them to win leagues again and cups again, and
I think that no matter what team you are, who your owner is, I think there's so much of a gap between any of the clubs and that top three that even if United suddenly changed overnight, they'd be nowhere near.
So you're quite happy in your lifetime to never see Chelsea win anything again. You'd accept that.
No, is that what I said though? I think that the main aim should be getting Chelsea back to being within that. Like I personally think with how strong that top three is in that conversation for that title against that City team is an achievement. So if you're asking me where I would like Chelsea to be, it's there. They deserve to be there. I don't care. I don't care about the cups. I don't care about whatever. I care about fighting for the league.
Well, even the Champions League, you're not that bothered.
No, I care about the Champions League. I care about the Champions League. I don't care about the domestic cups.
Not even
Because I completely believe
Cup. Not even
be
the
nice.
FA Cup.
Chelsea are very successful in the FA Cup.
Yeah, but it's the oldest cup competition in the world.
But I'm not a great fan of cup football.
So yeah, but you wouldn't be saying that with when Crew are in it, would you?
It's different for a lower league side than it is for a Premier League side. You know, an FA Cup run saves clubs at our level. You know that. It's completely different.
Don't you think that Chelsea demands to be at that top table. Chelsea Football Club, just like Man United do and Arsenal do, I won't put Tottenham in there, but just like Chelsea, United, Liverpool, City, and Arsenal, they demand to be at that top table.
Well, I agree, but then I also think that you know, I think that the traditional top six, no matter who you put in the traditional top six, they should always demand to be at the top table. But we've seen it over the last few years of so many of those top teams not being where they should be. All that time when Arsenal weren't in the Champions League, Liverpool not being in the Europa League and not the Champions League, United finishing eighth last season. We've seen it. Whether you think that's where you should be, and no matter what the circumstances are, sometimes you're just not there. And
how long is it going to take for Chelsea to get back there then?
How long is it going to take for United?
Yes, but I mean, yeah, ages. But
the original point I was trying to make.
Gone about it the wrong way. United was
I agree, but the original point I was trying to make is that I see a lot more positives in Chelsea's performance. I'm purely talking about pure on-pitch performance, tactics, whatever. I see more in Chelsea's than I have done in any of United's games this season. I've watched Chelsea twice. I've watched United 3 times. And I think, all right, we lost to Man City, but we weren't as bad as the scoreline suggests. We thrashed Wolves, but they were pretty terrible. But we still played some really attractive football, and we drew with Palace. But we actually played like a team, which I don't think we've really done under the Bowley ownership. I think that what my original point was is, I think there are more positives to come out of Chelsea as a club right now, pure performance-wise, than there is about United. And I also, talking about the contrast between United, I think so many people are talking about how there's this new backroom, structure full of a fantastic director, whatever his title is, in Dan Ashworth, a great head of recruitment in Jason Wilcox, or whatever his title is, because I can't think, because I'm, we're getting into it a bit. They've got a great structure, but it's still shit on the pitch. It's shit.
Yeah, you're right.
And the thing is that it is the complete opposite for Chelsea. On the pitch right now, it looks pretty good. It's short term, but it looks pretty good. Upstairs, you've got a guy who, although he's at most games, I don't think has any idea what's going on. Now, at the same time, on both sides, it's worth saying that we've got no idea what goes on behind the scenes of a football club. We've got no idea why they make the decisions they do. So it's particularly difficult to say with any real substance to talk about this really. However, as you can probably tell by the fact that we're going at it, 2 very passionate fans, you've got 2 clubs that are in bad states for 2 different reasons, and kind of not knowing what the end is in sight. Because one of the things that worries me about Chelsea is I think there is a distinct possibility that we could do well this season, like quite well, and he could just think, fuck it, and sell half the team.
So let me ask you something. I agree that on the pitch, you're slightly better than us at the minute. Not much, but you are. They've got the greater potential. We've hit our ceiling with these players. If you keep all your
the only way is down for United.
If you keep all your with this group of players, and this setup, But if you keep all your players, and add to it a bit of experience, you're nowhere near your ceiling. They've got another 30-40% going to go. So I ask you this: club-wise, who's more of a and I don't know the answer. Who is more of a basket case of a club? Manchester United or Chelsea?
I think United have got the better structure. I think on
No, but
paper, in terms of
overall, taking everything into account.
yeah, but that's difficult, isn't it? I
Who
think that United have got a better management structure in terms of on paper, should we say? At the minute, it's not really bearing much fruit, is it? 'Cause let's face it, all they really signed is a load of Ten Hag's men, and that's it, really. If we're boiling it,
the kids?
if we're boiling it down, I think that Chelsea's. And we don't know much, but from the outside, doesn't look great. Talking about signings, because I talked about United, I like most of them. I think there's a couple that are weird. Before, I think, is very strange because he's like 25 and kind of like average, without being too harsh on him. We've let go of players at a weird time, and we've also, a lot of the stuff that's gone on pitch performance. I think we're performing better. I think it's marginal though. Strength of squads, better squad, but they don't play like a team.
All right then. Who will win?
Our manager, let's say. So I think Maresca's got a higher ceiling. I think Maresca's got a higher ceiling than Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag.
I agree. Who will win the Premier League first? Manchester United or Chelsea?
Genuinely.
Sorry?
What do you think?
Genuinely,
Yeah.
it's a real tough one. I'm gonna say Man United, not because I'm a Man United. I mean, it's a toss of a coin, really. But I just think, well, you've got this owner in place, you're gonna struggle.
See, I think that. I think that if United persist with Ten Hag, they'll never get anywhere near it.
Yeah, but I think the same if you stick
with. I also think that if we continue to do things the way we're doing them, and this sneaky suspicion that I think I've got that we just get, if we start to do well, like we get Champions League, we'll get rid of half the team, or we get to a point where we're challenging Liverpool or City or Arsenal, we'll get rid of half the team. And I don't know, but I do not think
Chelsea's worries now are bigger than Man United's because Ten Hag's not going to be there for that long. So, however bad it gets,
I think no matter what happens,
Todd Bowley might be there for 20, 30 years.
It's weird as well because, like, bit of a word of warning to United, isn't it? Because a lot of the guys that he brought in to run the football operations and stuff have very, very, are very, very well regarded as are Jason Wilcox, as is, as are Dan Ashworth, guys like that, like, Paul Winstanley, and, they were part of the reason that Brighton were doing so well when they were doing what they were doing. So,
and what they continue to do, and that might be a good point to go on to Brighton, but what they continue to do, Brighton are well run at the top, so it doesn't matter who leaves, players, coaches, backroom staff, tea lady, they're still progressing.
And I suppose this comes around to your point, and the point I'm trying to make too, which is Tony Bloom understands the inner working of the owner side of football, which I don't think Bowley really has even scratched the surface on yet. But look, again, it's difficult because we don't know. We're looking at it from the outside in. There could be a moment where this whole Chelsea project just explodes and they become a super team, but I just can't see it. So yeah, at the minute, the long term, the short term, long term vision just has to be progression, because a lot of those players, I believe, really can catch fire. Somebody like Colwell could become a monster defender. Lavia is fantastic. And Weke, God knows what Cole Palmer's ceiling is.
Yeah.
Any positives there that it like part of my thing as a football fan, as a Chelsea fan, is like, look at how bad it was when the Bowley stuff started and everybody and look at all the negativity around the we've had and everybody we've got rid of and blah blah blah. But we're still doing okay on the pitch. I mean, okay, like base level, okay. I don't mean good. I don't mean great. I mean, like, fine. We drew against Palace at home. That's not brilliant, but better than what we were seeing. So, like, the baseline level as a fan, at least you're getting better than you were, and that's okay for me. I feel like that's a sign of some kind of progress. Because when things are as bad as they have been with this ownership and all over the place and a soap opera club and what have you, you have to take forms of comfort.
I agree, and you have to keep supporting your team. Couple of things. Has Ben gone?
Yes.
And shall we move on to Brighton, the Arsenal Brighton match?
We need to get a right move on because we spent way too long talking about that. So yeah, let's crack on. So of course, we'll go back and do what we said. Start on the lunchtime game. Arsenal versus Brighton. An unbelievable finish, I felt. Well, unbelievable build-up and finish for the first goal. Kai Havertz scoring it.
Cracking.
Yeah, I mean, he's really coming to his own, hasn't he? And then Declan...
Just quickly, as a ex-Chelsea player, won the Champions League for you. Do you keep an eye on Kai Havertz, and do you still have fond feelings for him?
I do, but then I do because I feel like he wasn't really used right. But then again, I haven't really felt like until the last few months of last season and then this season, I haven't felt like he was used right at Arsenal either. So it was kind of, it was okay that things didn't go well because he moved to Arsenal and they still weren't going well. Now, obviously, they're different.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So then, in the start of the second half, Declan Rice was sent off for a bit of a strange second yellow. I don't know whether. He was adjudged to have kicked the ball away from a free kick. He definitely does do it, but it's minimal.
Made the most of it, though.
Yeah, well, obviously he's literally tapped the ball with the side of his foot. That's it. Like, if you were looking, like really looking, you might not have even noticed he'd done it. You might have just thought that the ball was just moving. That being said, Veltman full-on kicks Declan Rice in the kind of build-up to that, and I don't even know whether he got booked. Do you know that?
No, he didn't get booked, no.
No, he didn't get booked. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. And then obviously Brighton went ahead and equalised. We talked last week about any drop points being crucial for this top three that we have now in the Premier League, and I think I do think that this is a big opportunity missed, especially because Arsenal started the game and they absolutely flew out of the blocks. They were fantastic. Now Fabian Herzl is just doing such a good job, and 7 points from 3 games is a great return. I don't have too much to say about this one. I'll be honest. I think the Declan Rice sending off is the right decision. Because the second yellow was a yellow, but it is also soft as shite. And yeah, I haven't got very much to say at all. I don't know about you, Sammy.
Well, I think by the letter of the law, it probably was a second yellow, but the referees, I think 10 years ago, I think this rule was brought in about 15 years ago, but 6 or 7 years ago even, that wouldn't have been a sending off or a second yellow, because the refs at times have to use their common sense and look at the situation that led up to that and what happened afterwards. So, by the letter of the law, yes, I can completely understand why the ref sent him off, but I would like to see referees use common sense a little bit more as well.
Yeah. Again, as well, João Pedro doing that kind of striker role very well. And yeah, I'm always a little bit reluctant to talk about Brighton because I feel like we touched on the basically summed Brighton up on what they're doing really well in the first week's roundup, which I don't even know is on YouTube or not. But if it is, go and check it out. So I feel like anytime we kind of praise, anytime we kind of praise Brighton, we're always saying the same kind of things. So for me, I'm excited to talk about. I'm excited to talk about this next team. If you're ready to move on.
Yep, I'm ready.
Yep. Okay. So at the GTEC Community Stadium, Brentford beat Southampton 3-1. It was a double from Brian Mbumo and then another from Johan Wissa, with a consolation from Yugi Sugawara for Southampton. Before anything else, there's 2 things I want to say. One of my biggest concerns with the Russell Martin style of football was that can get a bit kamikaze playing out from the back, and we saw that on that day, and I don't really know how well that translates to the Premier League, and we again saw that it didn't really translate very well because they got picked off and obviously scored from it. And the second thing I wanted to bring up was in the wake of a controversial Saudi move, which saw his wages go from £40,000 a week to 400. Ivan Toney was in attendance.
Ivan Traitor Tony was in attendance. I saw him. Yeah.
Really, dear. Well, my personal opinion is that Brentford have shown how much they don't need Ivan Toney this season. So, for me, it's no big loss, and I like the way they do things, and I like those front.
They will.
I like with the Bruno.
They will miss him, a player of his quality. They will, although they have got what's that guy that's injured? They've got to come back.
Igor Thiago.
He looked good in pre-season before his injury.
Yeah, I think there's no denying they'll miss him, but I don't think they need him as much as some people make out they do.
I think that Thiago could be a player.
We'll see. We'll see, because it's a bit of one of those, isn't it? Unknown entity. I mean, I know he was performing fantastic Belgium, but we've seen examples of people come over from the Belgian league and do well, and we've seen examples of them come over from the Belgian league and not do so well. So up in the air with that one. But yeah, listen, poor start from Southampton. They need to. I think if they don't start picking up some points within the next couple of game weeks, they're probably already in trouble. That's not saying, I mean, it just leaves them with a lot of work to do for the rest of the season already. Whether you agree or...
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I was just letting you finish your...
No, I was waiting for you to interject.
Yeah, so, I think Southampton... I mean, I'm all for playing out from the back when it's on. I think progressive football's the right way to go, but there's certain times, especially when you've not got the best players, there's certain times that can be your baseline, your model, but there's certain times where you've got to go long. You just have to, and there's certain times you have to, unless you're Man City, but even they go long sometimes. But there's certain times you've got to do it, and there's certain times you've got to knock the ball into Rosette. And I think people are becoming so obsessed, especially because of what Pep's done, which is amazing. Not just with City, but with Barcelona and others, and Bayern Munich, before City. I think at times, especially when you've got lesser players, you can have passing as the baseline, of course. That's the way everybody should play, out from the back. But at times, you've just got to get rid of it. Especially as every point in that league counts. Every goal you give away counts. Especially when you're in the bottom half, trying to survive.
Yeah, it matters more the lower down you get. When you're higher up, if you were like a Man City and you didn't win for 3 games, you know that eventually they'll kick into gear. Whereas if you're in Ipswich or Southampton, ever, you know that if you can't start finding a way to pick points up, you're in trouble. Which I think, by the way, is an excellent segue into the next team that we're going to touch on, which was Everton. And now they were
Unbelievable.
They were 2-0 up and playing probably the best they played all season. Right up until the 87th minute when Dango Utara assisted Antoine Semenyo, who's been fantastic so far this season. And then Lewis Cook headed in the 92nd minute to equalise before Luis Sinisterra won it at the death thanks to a fantastic pass from Justin Kluivert to bag the comeback win.
Do you want to do the Everton goal scorers as well?
Yes, yeah, of course. The Everton goals came from Michael Keane when a ball a loose ball dropped to him, and then Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who I'm glad to see back on the score sheet, to be honest, because I like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think he's had such a torrid time, hasn't he?
I'm glad to see him on the pitch. I hope he stays fit.
Yeah, he also got the assist as well, which I think is worth noting because of
a run of games, Dom. That's the problem. He didn't get a run of games last season.
So
the season
two
before.
things I want to say. When I say that, I think Everton played really well up until the moment till maybe like the hour mark, 70th minute. Honestly, like they were great. They moved the ball about really well. I also want to say that I've watched Bournemouth a couple of times this season. If I win 3 games, I think I've watched them twice, and they're great. They're great. So it doesn't surprise me at all. I think I said it last week. I hadn't watched Bournemouth under Areola before this season, and I cannot believe how good they are. Like, tactically fantastic. So, when you do get to that point where maybe a head's drop or it's near the end of the game and you're tired, and they've got the kind of players that they've got, a Semenyo, a Utara, a Cliver, a Sinistera, even that, like, they can pick you off.
As well. It looked like they could keep going in that heat.
Really well coached team, and I feel sorry for Everton a little bit, but they're another. I think if they don't start to pick points, they are in for another long season.
I do think that it's inexcusable to be 2-0 up 87 minutes at home, to see the game out, and to concede 3 in 9 or 10 minutes. It's just bordering on it.
Yeah, it is.
You've just got to see the
It
game
sums
out.
them up, though, doesn't it?
You've just got to see the game. You played well. You got yourself. We were saying about how precious points are. If Everton go down by 3 points or less at the end of the season, and it's tight, people will be looking at that going, well, if we'd have won that game, we would have stayed up. So I know it's only 3 games into the season, and you can't really look at it like that, but they're the kind of games that can be the difference between you staying up and going down at the end of the season. So you cannot, under any circumstances, be 2-0 up 87 minutes at home with the crowd roaring you on. And Everton were like leaving massive gaps at the back. And you're 2-0 up, just see the game out now. Just stick it long and put it in the corner. But they didn't. They left gaps. They were roaring forward. The fullbacks were roaring forward. The midfield were pushing high. They just had no game management. And fair play to Bournemouth. I mean, you could, I didn't see the highlights till later, but I was because I was busy, but till later on that night. But you could see it in the Bournemouth players' faces and the Everton's players' body language and the crowd, most importantly, and the thing is, it's sad because Everton is such a big club, but the fans, we've been there at Crewe, haven't we, where we've conceded a goal and you can just feel it in the air that they've been 2-1 up still, and you can just feel as soon as they get that goal back to make it 2-1, you can feel that something's going to happen. And that has been just implemented. It's been written in the Everton psyche as fans, as players. They panicked. They sheer panicked. They switched off. You know what I was saying about playing any sport before? About doing the basics and overriding that defaulting. That's what the players had to do, and they would have won that game 2-1, no problem. But they panicked. They literally panicked. They forgot how to play football because the fear set in.
Yeah.
And the fear, ironically, might not have set in as much if Bournemouth had scored on the hour mark. But the fact that they were so close to victory, Everton, and then Bournemouth get one back, and before that everybody's up and roaring. The fact they get that one back, even though there's not that long to go, it's sometimes worse conceding late than it is being 2-1 up, conceding that goal earlier, because you've got time to rectify it. Where for Everton, the way I saw it was they scored that goal, Bournemouth, and because there wasn't that long to go and they were near the finishing line anyway, they froze. They panicked. And sometimes it's harder to win when you're close to the line and something goes wrong than it is if something happens earlier. So I think a culmination of those things cost Everton. It's very worrying what Sean Dyche said, that you could smell it in the air after the game. Never good when your manager says that. But he's always honest, Sean. I think the fans, you might disagree with me here, George, but it's hard when you're a fan because Everton have been through so many tricky times of late and the club's not in a very good way. But that fear when the players' confidence is fragile that the fans have relates onto the pitch. You know, when Everton were at the best, well, not the best I've ever been because we weren't born then, but when Everton were, finishing 6th or 7th in the Premier, if that had been under Moyes, Everton wouldn't have lost that game because the crowd, even when Bournemouth scored, would have roared and got behind them and seen them over the line. But because of what they've been through, there was a fear. So I'm not digging the fans out, but I do think the fans had a part to play in the fear that was transcended onto
Yeah.
the pitch.
You can't, obviously, you can't dig the fans out, and you never would. But, I agree with what you're saying. We know from when it was bad at the Alex, when they got relegated, and, we were going to games, and, you do feel it in the air, you do. So,
And you do have a responsibility a little bit to try and see.
yeah, you're the 12th man. I thoroughly believe that.
But yeah, they're gonna have to dust themselves down. They actually played. They played very well in that game. So again, you know what I was saying about performance. If they perform like that every week from now to the end of the season, they'll finish mid-table because they perform so well that if you perform like that every week, you're gonna get the result.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. On to the next game. Not a lot to say about this one, to be honest with you. A draw between Ipswich and Fulham. A absolute screamer of a solo goal from Liam Delap, cancelled out by a goal from Adama Traore.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, first points on the board for Ipswich. The kind of game where you want points because Fulham have been pretty decent this season so far. So yeah, got a good point. Don't know whether
Yeah,
you've got any more to say.
always good to get off the board. to get on the board, not off the board. In the diving pool with Tom Daly there off the board. But always always good to get the first point or points on the board. Just settles the nerves a little bit for Ipswich, doesn't it? I mean, I know that they still want that first win, that elusive first win, but to just, if you go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games without a win, then, sort of winning can almost seem miles away and seem like it's never going to come. Or drawing, if you lose every game, 8 games, then you think, "Oh, I'm never going to pick up points." But I think they've got a base to build on now. Now they've got that point. So yeah, hopefully it won't be long till they get their first win, because I hope they stay up.
Yeah, I also think that you've got to think about the quality of that team. It's one of the weaker teams. To be fair, there is quite a few good players in, but they do need every point they can get. They need to maximise performance as much as possible. And I also kind of worry that should they continue to keep their head above water, if a certain club in Manchester gets rid of their manager, I think it'll be Kieran McKenna who gets the knock on the door first.
Yeah, maybe it will. I personally hope that he at least sees the season out at Ipswich. Yeah, and that's coming from a United fan. Because I hope Ipswich stay up. So I hope if we do get rid of Den Haag, that we either go, if we get rid of him by Christmas, which is the consensus that they're going to judge it again at around Christmas time, beginning of the new year, that we just put an interim in place and say to McKenna, right, join us at the end of the season if he comes and wants to come have a full season. Yeah, because I hope Ipswich stay up. I really do.
Yeah, it's a great story and great achievements by all round, and I think that's enough for him to probably stay in the job even if they do go down.
That is like their story is brilliant, really.
Yeah,
How you looked at their starting lineup last season that got promoted from the Championship. There were so many that got promoted from League One, and done the whole journey a little bit. You remember when Southampton were a bit like that?
well, I was going to say it's something that we haven't seen since either. Southampton did it, and so did Norwich.
Yeah, and even now, some of those players, are still getting in the starting lineup despite the players that brought in and being in the Premier League. So good on them. I think and I'd like to say to any young boy or girl out there, it just shows you if you're playing, or adult, if you're playing at a lower level and you want to go up with one club, look at what Mpanzu did with Luton last year, non-league to Premier League with the same club. So keep working hard, everyone, and don't give up on your dreams, because you might do a Mpanzu or a Burns or a, So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, yeah. So let's carry on after that motivational message. At the King Power, Leicester versus Villa. Goals from Amadou Onana and John Duran, who's been fantastic so far this season. Cancelled out with a consolation, from Facundo Buonanotte, the Brighton loanee. A good finish as well, by the way. Again, not too much to say about this one, despite being another Villa win. Just Villa continue to play very well. John Duran and Amadou Onana both scoring. Onana, I like a lot. showing how good he is again, continuing to develop again. And John Duran, I think, has taken a lot of that summer transfer speculation and used it as the springboard to really push his career on again. And has been developing really well as well.
I'm
So
glad
yeah,
he's stayed
yeah,
at Villa, to be honest.
more of the same from Villa. I like them being this kind of traditional top six disruptor, while the rest of the top six kind of, or some of the clubs in the traditional top six try and find the way back to where they should be. So
Little
I'm
bit
all,
of the
I'm,
way
I'm all
Leicester
for it.
the way Leicester were under Brendan Rodgers for many years, sort of disrupting that traditional top six.
Yeah, yeah, all good, all good. I feel like should be a little bit more analysis here, but it's one of those things where nothing major really popped out at me, and also we've already been talking for like an hour and a half, so we need to get a move on. Um, Another one in the same vein, not a lot to say. Forest and Wolves 1-1. Chris Wood with the goal assisted by Elliot Anderson, and then an absolute worldie from Jean-Rouge Bellegarde. I don't know whether you saw it.
Yeah, stunning, stunning.
Yeah, phenomenal. And look, points on the board for Wolves, a lot better than what we've seen. Yeah, pretty good. Also, Forest unbeaten so far.
Yeah, Forest were actually one of my tips to go down,
And
but
mine.
and they might still do that. But I have to say, I'm really impressed with the start they made. Um, I actually think they benefited by not making as many signings this year.
Yeah, I do as well. I think they and what they have brought in. I think it is they brought in where necessary, and I also think that in not buying so many, that kind of bedding in period from the last summer and
Yeah,
January.
well, the last two seasons really. I think there's
Yeah,
been so much upheaval at Forest that it's nice that they've just kind of gone. Well, we're good enough, and we'll add what we need rather than the scattergun approach, which doesn't always work. And very nearly cost them twice in the Premier League last season and the season before. So yeah, great start from Forest. Big football club. We talk about big football clubs, and Forest is right up there. I would like to just say on this game, and I have mentioned it before, and I don't really take much note of XG and all that kind of stuff because, yeah, you can do stats I do in possession and stuff like that, but you can do stats so that the cows come out. But one thing I would like to say is that. The wood in the forest is very alive and fresh. That's Chris Wood. He last season was
very good.
the last season he was had the best um uh chances to goals conversion, so that's good chances that a striker gets, and converting those chances of anybody in the top 5 leagues in Europe, which I know I spoke to you about the other week off air, George, but I find very interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a great stat, that one. Yeah, it is. And yeah, I'm glad to see it. Always rated Chris Wood. I think we talked about him a couple of weeks ago as well. Um, and
Well,
I would just want to put as well on a little bit of international news. Very pleased for Morgan Gibbs White because what an underrated player he is.
Yeah, he deserves his opportunity. He really does. Yeah, really, really pleased for him. He's worked hard. Yeah, and he's a really good player. Could maybe next summer, depending on how Wolves do, but maybe needs another move to develop his career further. And get, a bit like Onana's done at going to Villa. I could see him going to a Villa or somewhere like that next, or Tottenham or something. But yeah, speaking of Tottenham, we're probably not far
Yeah,
off that.
we're
And then
not far off.
we got
Two
West
more
Ham.
to go. Two more to
West,
go in the Prem.
yeah,
And yeah, West Ham at the London Stadium. It was back-to-back hat tricks for Erling Haaland. At it again, 7 goals in 3 games in the league. I mean, it kind of gets to the point again. Well, like, what do you say about this guy? Like,
robotic.
genuinely, what do you say about this guy other than he is a literal goal-scoring machine? Like, that's what's like incredible, but also really difficult when you're doing a show like this, where I just don't know what else to say other than he's an absolute freak of nature.
Sometimes there are no words. You just got to bow down and go. It's bloody unbelievable. I mean, he's been at City, this is his 3rd season, yeah? So he's been there 2 full seasons. So 2 seasons, really, plus a handful of games. Less than a handful. That was his 12th hat trick for Man City in all competitions in 2 seasons. I mean, it's just mind blowing.
That's mad, isn't it? It's mad numbers.
12
Incredible.
just for City. It's just it's crazy. I mean, and I think he scored. Did I see it 16 or 18 in his career or something like that? It's mind boggling. And you can say all you want about his hold up play and stuff, and yeah, I do think he can improve that, but he's there as a striker, and my word, does he get some goals? It almost, when, I don't know about you, George, but when you just, something almost gets boring because he's that good that you're just like, oh, he scored again, and it's a shame because we should be looking at it, and I'm a United fan, don't forget, but should be looking at it going, this guy's just unbelievable. But we almost expect it now. I only think when it's his career.
I don't think it gets. I don't think it gets boring, but I do think
You know
it
what I
makes
mean?
it I do think that it makes it impossible to sit here and do something like this and
Yeah.
have to analyze it because you can't.
It'll be
Because
one
what more can you say?
it'll be one of those things that you look back at the end of his career and go, you won't realise how special he is to the end of his career. And you look back and you'd look at his numbers and go, I mean, what is he, 24 now?
Yeah,
I mean,
24.
he could break every goal. I mean, I'm not saying he will, because Ronaldo and Messi, unbelievable. But the way he's going, he will.
Yeah, but even they don't have like comparative stats to his. Like it's
In terms of the amount of goals they've scored,
yeah, but not at his age.
not
And
at his age. I mean, I read something ridiculous that in order for Haaland to break Ronaldo's goal scoring record, he'd have to score 40 goals, around 40 goals every season. But the way he's going, this guy is going to be right up there. Whether he'll break it is too early to say because injuries and stuff. But if he that was if he plays till he's 38, which is Ronaldo's age now. From now, but he'd have to score 40 goals every season, which is an unbelievable thing that Ronaldo and Messi have done. Let's just say that. But the way he's going, I mean, the guy is an animal. The guy he's the closest thing to a robot as a footballer I've ever seen. Because he just
I will say though, I think he'll get at least 150, 160 Premier League goals. But I do think if this carries on, and he wants to move, I'm just assuming that he will to Madrid. Let's say I think he'll stay at Man City for a couple more seasons and then go to Madrid.
Depends what happens.
Now,
he done it.
Maybe he might just, if he decided to stay at City for the rest of his career, let's say, or even for another 5 years. At this rate, he's breaking Shearer's record. Like if he stays on, he will. If he stays on at City for the next 10 years, let's say, he will not only break Shearer's record, he will absolutely smash it to pieces. Because he's only what, 5 or 6 goals away from 100.
No, hasn't he scored 60 something in the Premier League?
Let me check what he's on in the Premier League. I'm thinking of all competitions.
I'll do that. I'll do that. Oh, hang on. I'll do that, and you carry on.
But yeah, that's my bad. I think it is 100 in, or he's 5 or 6 goals away from 100 in all comps, isn't he?
For City?
For City, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's scored 63 in the Premier League, but in something like 62 starts or something. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's numbers beyond anything that we've ever seen before.
In this league, yeah. I mean, Ronaldo and Messi, we've seen it, but again, the age. Ronaldo and Messi were just starting to do what Haaland's done for the last 4 years, 5 years now.
But then you've got to look at his goal scoring record at Salzburg, his goal scoring record at Dortmund. It's just goal scoring on a consistent basis that I don't know.
We've only ever seen Ronaldo and Messi like that. But if he carries on from the age he was, tell you what. But as for West Ham, I mean, they made some great signings, wonderful signings, and really good ones. Should do a lot better this year. But I'm not sure about Julian Lopetegui, I've never been sure about him.
Knew that was coming.
And I'm not saying because they've lost to City. I'm just not sure about him. I'm not saying he's a bad manager. Clearly, he's okay, and he might turn out to be great. But could he be another Manuel Pellegrini? When he went and Manuel Pellegrini, let's have some respect, won the league with City, but when he went to West Ham, it didn't work out. Could he be another Manuel?
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. I know that there's a lot of things that you don't like about him. I mean, personally, I think he's done pretty well wherever he's gone in England. Don't forget he only left Wolves because he felt like he wasn't going to be back in the transfer window. Which is whatever. You can't read too much into that because loads of different managers say stuff like that. I agree. They'll be fine. I just think it's they've not had the best of fixtures so far.
Put it this way: do you think Lopetegui, and then signed well, but do you think he's capable of getting more out of West Ham than David Moyes?
Yes,
We'll see.
because I think that part of the reason that he left, other than just the style of play, was that I think that team had reached its limit.
But Lopetegui plays a similar brand of football from what I've seen to David Moyes.
Yeah,
No?
but
Is that wrong?
so from what I've seen, I'll agree. But I also think that a European coach with kind of that kind of pedigree will at least bring something fresh. Like you said, what we've seen at the minute seems pretty samey, but it's early days. And by the way, it's worth prefacing every single thing that we have said so far with it's early days. You know, Man United could go on and get Champions League. Chelsea could get, well, let's not say Chelsea could get relegated, but like, for argument's sake, I'm being ridiculous, but for argument's sake, you know, City might have a massive drop off and Arsenal might win the league. It's too early to make definitive swipes.
Do you think there's a danger with West Ham, though, that they could have made a similar mistake as they did with Pellegrini at the time? Not that when Pellegrini got the job, I was like, wow, Pellegrini at West Ham, that's going to be amazing. But it didn't work out.
I think, to be honest with you, I think that the Pellegrini, I think that well, again, it's too early to tell. I don't know. At the minute, it just seems like like for like. It seems like pretty like for like at the moment, which you don't know whether that's just transitional or what.
Between Moyes and Lopetegui.
Yes, but that could just be to ease the transition.
Yeah. We've certainly got a lot of attacking players.
Yeah, and a lot of good ones as well.
Did Billy Gilmore leave Brighton in the end?
Yes, he went to Napoli. It'll be him and McTominay in midfield.
On loan or with a obligation to
Permanent,
buy?
13 million, I think.
I'm surprised they let him go because obviously O'Reilly's injured. So what are they going to do?
There is something I do want to do just before we move on to the next game that we need to cover. Will, are you still with us? Are you enjoying the show?
Well,
I bet he's there. It's fine, sod him. We're just carrying on this whole YouTube live stream and he's just sat there.
he's put you.
As he put, yes, that's great. Okay, yes. Do you happen to know, by the way, Will, how long we've been going for? I don't know. If I was on YouTube, I would have stopped watching by now. Anyway.
It has been good, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's me and you, innit? It's me and you, and we're absolutely hashing it out over a topic that we're passionate on. So I wouldn't expect it to be anything other than good. Yes. So the final Premier League game that we've got to cover of the weekend was at St James's Park, Newcastle versus Tottenham, and it was a win for Newcastle thanks to goals from Harvey Barnes and Alexander Isak, sandwiched between a Dan Burn own goal. How much do we have to say about this one, Sam?
Will's put you did talk beforehand. Anyway,
he's at it again. Bore off.
I think that's what he said. I only caught a glimpse of it. So I'm sorry if that wasn't the case. Well, what did I think of that? So I watched most of this game, and I thought, well, I watched the second half, but obviously saw the first half highlights. Great goal from Harvey Barnes. For Newcastle, great to see him back and fit as well. I think he's an excellent player. Really do. I think he's obviously
Stunning finish.
not world class, but he's in the excellent category. He has energy, he has quality. Yeah, I rate him very, very highly. And he could be brilliant for Newcastle. Him on one side, Gordon on the other, with Almiron coming on. Fabulous. However,
Good for the Europa League level, isn't it?
yeah. However, Tottenham were the better team overall. They missed a lot of chances, and Nick Pope had to make some great saves after the mix-up he had with Dan Burn, where he shoveled it out and Dan Burn put through his own net. When really,
I don't think he had a very good game, Nick Pope.
where really, Dan Burn shouldn't have put through his own net. He should have cleared that. I know it's sometimes.
Yeah, he panicked. He completely panicked. He completely shat his pants.
I know sometimes you can't do anything when it takes a deflection off you, but he did have time to clear that. It wasn't right on the goal line. But I thought Tottenham played well, just didn't take the chances, and I said,
do you not think it was very Spursy? Do you not think they were pretty poor at the back?
I just think they didn't take the chances, and Newcastle did.
No, but again, don't you think that Tottenham create? Anytime I've watched Tottenham, they create enough to win a game 5 or 6, and then they still lose.
Yeah.
What do we think of Tottenham? Shit. That's all I've got to say.
They got to 1-1, and they have to be winning that game because of the amount of dominance they had, but they didn't. And Jacob Murphy,
they had to take hold of it because you could tell it had rattled them to concede in that way.
Yeah,
and they didn't take hold of it.
Miles the better team after that for about 20 minutes, but they didn't take the chances. And I said to the person I was watching it with 2 minutes before Newcastle scored, I said, if Spurs don't take the chances in a minute, in the next couple of minutes, Newcastle get one and score. And that's exactly
and
what happened.
And it's also, by the way, an unbelievable defence splitting pass from Murphy.
From Joe Linton.
From Joe Linton, sorry, to Murphy, who then obviously found Isak, which I loved because he grew into the game, because I feel like when he came on, his first few involvements were losing the ball. He had a terrible first few minutes.
He did.
And then really grew in.
Actually, Murphy is one of the most improved players over the last couple of years. Because I thought
underrated as hell.
Because I thought when all this money came in for Newcastle, I thought, oh, Murphy's gone, because I didn't think he was that good. But he's been brilliant for Newcastle, whether it be starting and coming on as a sub. I think it's the
workhorse mentality, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's got quality as well. He does have quality, and I didn't think he had it to that level, but he has really improved. Him and Jean-Philippe Mateta at Palace are the two most improved players over the last couple of years, or certainly up there. Speaking of improved players, of course, that leads us beautifully on to Joe Linton. What a transformation! If you're not that into football, and you just watch the show, or you like Mr. Tube Mix.
Sam, We'd be lucky if 5 people watch this show.
And you look at Mr. Tube Mix over there, who's in and out of football like hot potatoes. Joe Linton was signed for Newcastle from Hoffenheim as a striker. Played up front for Newcastle for 18 months or so. Was not. Thank you for that smiley face, Tube Mix. Was not good at all. Really struggled, and just was a big, strong lad who couldn't do a lot. A bit of a lump, I always thought, and I think you probably agreed, George. But in the end, going into midfield, what Eddie Howe has done with him, it has been an unbelievable transformation. Like, seriously, he's now one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the Premier League, without a doubt. He is strong, powerful. His passing skills, his passing skills are unbelievable. He can finish, although he's not a natural finisher, but he can. He's strong. He's willing. He desire, passion, quality, skill. I can't speak highly enough of him, as you can probably tell. But just a transformation. That is one of those things that see him in midfield now, and I'm like, of course. Like, why didn't I see that he would be an amazing midfielder? But at the time, you don't. You just think, he's a bit of a shit striker. But what a player! He's a beast.
Don't you think as well? Like, obviously, if you remember all that far back, Hoffenheim had Firmino, then Liverpool signed Firmino, and Hoffenheim signed Joe Linton to replace Firmino. Now, he did pretty okay. And like you said, if you remember Joe Linton as a striker, absolutely dog. Absolutely terrible. So to see where he is now, playing in midfield and doing so well, and getting selected for Brazil, I believe.
He's I genuinely think he's a world-class midfielder.
Yeah, I do too. I just want to touch on something that Will said in our little chat here. He said something, blah, blah, blah. But one thing he did say is that we talked about United for far too long. We did, probably. It's a bit late now. we did, but there you go. Right, shall we blitz through the EFL?
Yeah.
And then we can foxtrot Oscar, as they say.
Yeah.
Right.
Drink your caffeine, ladies and gentlemen. If you've got this, we applaud you.
I'm knackered and we're fucking doing it. Yeah, so starting off with the Friday night, obviously, I think we did touch on it a little bit because it was going on as we were, as we were trying to be live, or it had finished after we came live. But Luton played QPR. Luton have not, started very well. Whatsoever. And that continued. They were beaten here. They actually took the lead through a Jimmy Dunn own goal. Before Michael Frey was at the heart of everything that the Hoops did, and he assisted for Nicholas Madsen on the 59th, and then scored 3 minutes later to provide QPR with a much needed 3 points, which takes their tally this season to a fairly decent 5, with 1 win and 2 draws. Moving on to Saturday. Okay. We'll start with a draw, but it did have some interesting things going on in it. Burnley and Blackburn drew 1-1. A Lyle Foster header in the opening 10 minutes was cancelled out by a sublime volley from Andy Weinman to level, and 2 yellow cards from Mac Targay for Blackburn as they finished with 10 men. The second yellow coming.
Did you say Matt Target?
Mac Targay.
Oh, Gay, the striker, is a striker.
Yeah. And his second yellow card came because he signalled to the referee to book one of the Burnley players, which, as we know, you can't get away with nowadays.
What was he doing?
And also, neither should you, by the way. That's like the shithousery which we enjoy, but then there's also being a dick. So, there you go.
What he deserved.
Share of the spoils. 2 teams doing very well in the league so far.
Yeah, are doing very well with, because obviously Sammy Smodics started the season on fire for Blackburn, despite all the transfer speculation. Can I just say as well how professional he was with Blackburn, scoring 3 in 2 games before leaving to it.
Did well. It's what you love to see.
Unlike our mate John Rowe, who threw his toys out of his pram.
You know what? You know one thing I like about you. You don't let things go very easily, do you?
No, I just like to see the way Gehy's conducted himself, the way Smodics conducted himself. It's how it should be.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, and Cardiff's not so great start to the season continues. They are bottom with 1 point, joined by Luton. They were beaten by Middlesbrough, 2-0, one from Matt Clark and then an Aaron Ramsey own goal, as their kind of fits and starts kind of start to the season continues. Doing okay, 7 points from 4 is all right, but I do think they've
just all right, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got a few more gears to get into yet.
They'll be around the playoffs.
Yeah, I think you are correct in that assumption. Norwich got there.
I don't think Cardiff will go down. Can I just point out though that Cardiff have 2 of Crew's finest, Perry NG and
not anymore.
What?
One. They loaned Wintle out to Millwall on deadline day.
Oh, where's NG?
He's still there. I said 1.
Oh, I thought you said he'd gone. Sorry.
No.
I thought Wintle was getting outside.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it was on deadline day, but it was like one of the final days of the window. I will address Will's comment in the chat in a moment. I just want to continue and finish the championship roundup, and a first win for Johannes Thorup at Norwich, thanks to a goal from Bohasites. The away victory as well. Always good to get a nice little away victory, especially when it's at the CBS Arena. Which, fun fact for you, and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but there we go. The CBS Arena is going to be an FC25 this year.
Whose arena is that? Sorry,
Coventry's.
Why is it going to be an FC25?
I don't know. Most of them are.
Yeah, some of them in the championship are in FC24. You're right. As a side note, have you heard that Delia Smith's leaving Norwich?
Yeah, they had was it a 10% stake there?
Who, Delia Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's be having you. and let's be having more of these.
You 12th man, let's be having you.
Where are you? You need
Let's
12
be
man.
having you. Right.
I'll tell you what, as
So,
well.
go on.
She's an ugly looking woman, isn't she?
Stop it. You can tell we're getting towards the end. It's starting to go downhill. Right. Continuing on. It was another home win for Derby in the league. Very, very apprehensive. 3-0 thanks to goals from how the fuck did you say that? Kuzmin? No, it can't be Kuzmin. I'm just going to say Kenzo. It's goals from Kenzo, Caden Jackson, and Crystal Palace Loney Daniel Ozo. Decent for Derby. Glad to see him picking up points. Always been a fan of Paul Warren, so I'd quite like them to stay up.
Crew beat them in the FA Cup as well last season.
Were we there? Were you there? Yeah, we were. Yeah, of course we were.
No, it was a 2-2 draw at home.
Oh God, yeah, and then we beat them at Pride Park. Yes. Leeds continue their kind of building up a pace after a less than favourable start in the first couple of games.
Had a bit of pressure, haven't they?
Yeah, 2 goals from 2 strikers. One that's been around for a while, and one that I cannot wait to watch develop. Mateo Joseph with the first, the young Spanish under-21 international, and then Joel Peru wrapping things up.
Always like Perot, good player.
Yeah, we just talked about Millwall, and we also did a lot of talking about Sheffield Wednesday after they battered Plymouth and then got battered by Sunderland, and then were second best to Leeds, and they were absolutely battered here. 3-0 by Millwall. Goals from Josh Coburn, Duncan Watmore, and Jake Cooper saw them off as
surprised.
Yeah, Millwall continues to kind of do okay, and I think a lot. It was kind of expected that the positive impact Neil Harris had might have worn off by the start of the season, but no, they carry on, and they did well.
He's got Millwall in his blood, that guy.
Yeah, I love it. You love those kind of stories, don't you? I'm all about it.
I don't love the Millwall fans. They're a bit of a nasty breed. Sorry, Millwall followers.
Speaking of Foxtrot Oscar, that's what the Millwall fans can do. Oxford home to Preston. They had to come back from a goal down thanks to Emil Rees putting Preston a goal ahead. They came back. They came roaring back thanks to a goal from newly called up to the Wales squad for the first time in a while, Mark Harris, who continues his great goal scoring form in the Championship. Their young star, Tyler Goodrum, with a good finish to put them in the lead. And then ex-Crew Loney from about 9 years ago, which I think I saw him play. I think maybe the second or the third time I went to watch Crew, he was at left back for us. But yeah, Greg Lee scoring the third, and also Liam Lindsay being sent off for Preston.
Very start from Oxford. Even the games they've lost, they've been very good.
Yeah, I think they've been taught some lessons about the Championships in their losses, and they've also kind of shown that they don't need teaching as much as you might think in the wins, if that makes sense.
They play without fear. It's good.
Yeah, and I also like,
they'll get a few beatings this season, but they'll also win some great games and play some good football. So
we don't. Yeah. Bear with me because my thing's frozen. Right, okay. Stoke continued what I think is also a good start to the season from them. Stephen Schumacher visiting his old side. Wayne Rooney's Plymouth Argyle and coming away with the victory thanks to a goal from Manhoff, what a name. And what a player he is as well. Nice little tricky player. Um,
Tricky
still no
name.
wins. Still no wins in the league for Rooney.
They have picked up a bit though.
Yeah, look, I don't think they've been terrible. I think that there's still a lot to come from them. So don't need to worry too much yet.
They'll have a tough season.
I know we're 4 games in, but we're not quite 5 games in, so we don't need to worry about the tables too much. So neither should they. Nice little bit of trivia for you. The Stoke goal was assisted by the son of Mama Sidibe, who used to play for Stoke,
Oh,
and he's
yeah,
been getting quite a few minutes in their team, and he looks pretty good. So we'll watch that one with interest.
yeah.
Sunderland are the only 100% team in the EFL. 4 from 4
Sorry,
under
Newcastle fans.
4 from 4 under Regis Labrie. An own goal from Portsmouth's Zach Swanson, followed by a goal which Eleazar Mayenda thought was his, only to see on the replays that actually Alan Brown touched it in. That was the second goal. And then the Jack Clark replacement, who is doing just fine, Romain Mundell, with a goal, third goal, 5 minutes later. Sunderland continue. Oh, sorry. It's worth mentioning the Plymouth consolation came in the 91st minute, and it was a goal from captain Luke O'Nien. Sunderland are doing so well, and the
Hang
brand
on.
of football they play is
Said-
class.
You just said Plymouth captain Luke O'Nien.
Sunderland captain Luke O'Nien. I'm knackered. We've been doing this for ages.
You said it was a consolation. Didn't Sunderland win?
No, a consolation for Portsmouth.
Yeah, but you said Luke O'Nien.
Look, I don't know. Anyway, it's done. Yeah, it was an own goal. It was an own goal.
Right, okay.
Right, let me just go over it again for anybody who doesn't understand. Sunderland opened the scoring thanks to an own goal from Portsmouth right back Zach Swanson. Then goals from Alan Brown and Romain Mundell before Portsmouth scored a consolation thanks to a 91st minute own goal from Sunderland captain Luke O'Nien. There you go, happy?
Yeah.
And the final one for our Saturday Championship action. West Brom 1, Swansea nil. Fucking hell, I can't say nil. A meeting of two teams doing pretty well. Cancelled out, which was the winner scored. Top goal scorer. I'm losing it. Top goal scorer Josh Maja turning assister. He played the ball across for Jason Malombi, who finished with aplomb. Anything else to say about the championship while we're here and I just pad for time while I see what the Sunday game was?
No.
No? Okay, thanks for that. Really helpful. On Sunday, Tom Cleverley's Watford travelled to Bramall Lane and were beaten. A second-minute own goal from the goalkeeper, Dan Backman. Bit of a mess, that. Sees them lose their 100% record and give Sunderland some...
Oh, for Watford. They've done well this year.
Yeah, no, it's good. But it does see Sunderland get some breathing space at the top, which, even early doors, is much needed.
Where are Sheffield now?
They are... I will just double check. But I don't think they're doing too bad. I think they're like 7th or 8th. Let me just double check that for you. Sheffield United are... Oh, no, I was completely wrong. Sheffield United are... Nah, they are, yeah. Sort of like They're level on 6 points with Stoke, Derby, and Oxford.
Right.
So not bad. Into League Two. Into League One. Oh my god. Into
Shall
League One.
I'll take.
I've started, so I'll finish. Into League One, and another very good or very exciting game for Richard Keogh in temporary charge at Blackburn. At Blackpool. Wickham opened the scoring thanks to a goal from Gareth McCleary, which cancelled out by Kyle Joseph. Then Wickham hit back thanks to Daniel Udo, formerly of Crewe. If you remember when he was at Crewe, probably not.
No.
Cancelled out by Jake Beasley, and another exciting draw for 2 points from two. For 2 points from a possible six. Fucking, oh my god, I've completely lost it. 2 points from a possible six, which isn't too bad considering the kind of tricky task. I think they've come up against some tricky tasks, to be honest. For me, anyway, but that's just my opinion.
You're coming up against a tricky task right now.
I absolutely am. I'm having a right time of it. Speaking of people who were having a right time of it, but now aren't, first win of the season for Rotherham against high-flying Huddersfield. That was hard to say. So this game had a particularly strange flow. First of all, a straight red card for Danny Ward against his old team Rotherham was then followed up by a goal from Wolves only Joe Hodge for 1-0 Huddersfield. Following that, Junction Clark Harris with his first goal since returning to the club from the penalty spot on the 77th minute. And then in the 90th, Malik Wilkes popping up for 2-1 for a first win of the League One season for Rotherham.
So Rotherham won with 10 men.
Huddersfield were beaten with 10 men.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
I don't know, right? We're just carrying on. It can't be on. I'm just sorry, right. Another team that have looked amazing and grabbed quite a lot of headlines for a ridiculous £10 million transfer on deadline day was Birmingham. They shut out the noise and grabbed the victory against Wigan. Alfie May opening the scoring for 4-4 before Tello Asgard hit a bolt from the blue. Did you like what I did there? For the equaliser on 66 before another deadline day signing. Scott Wright, who signed early enough to play, came in from Rangers and scored the winner for his new club as they continue on. And they are unbeaten as well.
Cool.
Yeah, all good. Next one, Bolton, usually absolutely near enough impenetrable at home. Not today, though. They were not on Saturday, sorry. They were beaten 2-0 by Exeter, thanks to a goal on his full League One debut for Kamari Doyle, and then finish from Milinek Ali on 49 minutes. Not Muhammad Ali. They're a really interesting club, Exeter. I don't know how much you know about them or how they work or their youth system or even who their manager is, but yeah, they're an interesting club. Worth a read, definitely. Their manager.
Maybe we'll have a chat about that on the next show.
Their manager, by the way, Gary Caldwell.
Oh yeah, Him. Played for
He played
Wigan.
Wigan.
He
Yeah,
played for
that's the
Wigan.
one.
Scored well. Yeah.
Yeah, Wigan.
Anyway, carry on.
Oh God, I'm so tired. Why do we agree to do this? At the Memorial Stadium in Bristol, it was Bristol Rovers versus Gary Monk's Cambridge, who I actually felt off the back of that comeback from 4-1 down last week, they might be able to nick something here, but no. Summer signing promise Omachere showed how much he's got with a double. And
Joe
Bristol,
Dallas has got.
yeah, that's what I was trying to say. But okay, yeah, good victory for Bristol because I don't know. I think Alex played them last season, right? When they signed Matt Taylor, and he was Matt Taylor was the manager at Rotherham,
Yeah, he was
and
dancing up and down on the touchline.
yeah, and I think that I think Bristol fans felt like it might have been Bristol fans felt like it might have been the kind of the start of a new dawn for them. And it's not really gone that way. Well, it's not really gone that way at all in any kind of shape or form for them. But maybe, just maybe, with a good few results, they might be able to get something going. Talking teams who
I think he needs to do ballet because when he faced Crew in the cup, he was more like Billy Elliot than a football manager. But there we go.
I don't remember too much of that, to be honest with you.
I do.
You don't forget, do you?
No,
you don't forget. Speaking of teams that have had interesting starts, it was a meeting between Crawley and Barnsley. Now, Crawley obviously started the season with 2 wins, lost last week, and also lost this week. Goals from centre-back Donovan Pines and then 2 from Adam Phillips. Meant it's back-to-back losses for Crawley, and possibly we're starting to see what Darryl Clark's Barnsley are really gonna look like. Battle of the promoted. Go on.
Crawley can go down, finish bottom
again. As I said, Sam does not forget. It was a battle of 2 of the promoted sides at Field Mill. Mansfield v Stockport, surprisingly, I think, ended in a draw. Hiram Boateng opening the scoring for Mansfield before Kyle Wotton got the equaliser for Stockport. So no 4-4 for Louis Barry. And then, I don't know whether you saw the highlights of this game or not. Northampton 0, Burton Albion 0 is one of the most entertaining 0-0s I think I've ever seen in terms of highlights. Definitely should have had a goal. Didn't have one. Not much to say. Wrexham went to Peterborough and got yet another victory. Jack Marriott made his name at Peterborough, and he scored the opener, and then the second goal was scored by central defender. I'm going to try and say this as well as I can. Matt Cleworth. Not sure. You know, I've heard different people say it different ways.
Marriott. All you can say.
Oh, not Marriott. What did you say?
I said sweet Marriott.
Sweet Marriott.
No, because I was gonna say. No, never mind. I'll tell you off air.
Dear me. And this does mean, by the way, that both the draw for Stockport and the win for Wrexham means that both 2 promoted teams are in the top 2 spots in League One 4 games in.
Stockport especially, incredible job. My my uncle's a Stockport fan, and I saw him on Saturday. Normally, when we talk about Stockport, it's all doom and gloom, but they have been on some rise, arguably as big a rise as Wrexham. But you'd imagine Wrexham would go further because of the money.
Yeah, yeah. But we'll see what happens with that at the end of the year, I reckon, because at the end of the season, sorry, because I reckon that at least one of those promoted sides is going to go up. Just not sure which one. Another, I would say, shock result saw Reading beat Charlton, who started so well. Although it's kind of a little bit of low margin stuff, but they have started so well under Nathan Jones. 2 goals within 10 minutes of each other. Charlie Savage with a fantastic strike, one that I think his father would be proud of. And then Sam Smith doing what he loves to do. Glad to see him doing it for Reading, to be honest. Sam Smith, such a great goal scorer for Cambridge. And then it's kind of only worked in fits and starts since he joined Reading. So
we should stick to singing, let's be honest.
I continue to say Ruben Selles is a fantastic coach, and I will continue to say it all day long. A little bit of interesting trivia for you, Will. I think you'll enjoy this one. The opening goal scorer for Shrewsbury, Leo Castledine, is a Chelsea loanee. His dad is an ex-footballer. His mum is a TV presenter, but I'm not going to say what for because I can't quite remember. And his sister is a famous actress. She's disabled, and she's in EastEnders. She's very good, actually, as we know. I'm an EastEnders fan. So yeah, there's a little bit of interesting thinking for you. A goal on his professional debut for Leo Castledine.
Sorry, EastEnders fan. What's wrong with you? I'm a fledgling actor. He's already, and I can't stand EastEnders anyway.
Yeah, but you should get into it.
I was going to say another bit of interest for you. I know you'll know this, George, but for the viewers, listeners, whatever, sleepers,
they are all asleep.
Is that that Jack Hinchelwood is the fourth generation in his family to play for Brighton.
Is it? Do you know what? I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. It's the fourth generation.
So yeah, first Shrewsbury goal for Castledine, and then 2 for Tom Bloxham. Interesting this one because Shrewsbury, I've kind of mentioned in bits and bobs, not looked great at all. It's a battle of two of the kind of bottom sides. I think the only 2 sides without points before this. So Leyton Orient are left with 0 points from 4 games. Shrewsbury at least now off the mark. A lot of quality in that Leyton Orient side, but it is worrying, definitely. And to finish off, Stevenage versus Lincoln, a Jack Moylan penalty for Lincoln, and Paddy O'Connor sent off for 2 yellows for Lincoln as well. Good away win. Not much to say. Into League 2. We are nearly there, folks. I swear to God. Starting with the early kickoffs, in which, to be honest with you, very first attack from Gillingham. Nice little free kick routine played in, flicked on for Robbie McKenzie to score in the 8th minute. And that is all she wrote. Worth mentioning that both sides had 2 men sent off.
You said all she wrote. What do you mean?
all she wrote is, and there wasn't anything else scored. No, nothing else. No more goals scored.
I've not heard about that, but I've not heard that saying before.
Yeah, both teams had players sent off for 2 yellow cards. Max Emer for Gillingham in the 60th minute and Shea Dunkley for Chesterfield in the 95th. So Gillingham, top of the table, continuing to do well. Keep wanting to preface that it's still early days.
They had a good start last year, didn't faded.
Yeah, under Neil Harris, yeah, because then Neil Harris did that really crazy thing where he started the season in League Two, went to League One, did a good job with Cambridge, and jumped ship to Millwall. So he managed in.
Was that all in the same season?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's good, that, isn't it? I like that. It's a funky little stat. Okay. Doncaster Rovers were the visitors to Vale Park. Boo.
Love Doncaster.
Doncaster took the lead in the 16th minute thanks to Luke Molyneux before it was cancelled out by Ryan Crosdale. Then, at the start of the second half, returning hero Billy Sharp put Doncaster 2-1 up before Luke Molyneux scored again for 3-1, and then Ethan Chislett converted the penalty as the Vale start with 4 points from 4 games. Let me just check that. That's true.
I love Doncaster for 2 reasons. They threw a 3-0 lead away in the playoff semi-final against Crewe last season, which obviously we were very happy about because we got to go to Wembley, and they beat Port Vale.
Yeah, and we always love to see Port Vale losing.
Oh, yeah. That club. Anyway, carry
on. A draw between Accrington and Colchester saw Kelsey Mooney score the opener for Aki before Colchester got the equaliser thanks to the currently free-scoring central defender Ben Goodliffe. Not too much to say about that one. Moving on. Wimbledon, fresh from an unbelievable penalty victory against Premier League Ipswich Town in the Cup in midweek, bagged another one. A 1-0 win against Charlie Adams Fleetwood Town, thanks to a thunderbolt from Josh Neufeld. I like Wimbledon a lot. I like Johnny Jackson. I like a lot of the players. I think that team being the kind of Phoenix club that came from the whole Wimbledon thing, Wimbledon MK Dons thing, they should be higher up. I hope they get there eventually. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Right, the main attraction for us, Bromley have enjoyed a pretty decent start to life in League Two, and I'm pretty sure they were probably bullish about their chances for this game. It started in the second minute when former Crewe loanee Lewis Lee scored in the second minute, his first professional goal. Very sad to lose him, by the way. Shocked that he chose Bromley over us, but obviously that's where he was the season before last, and got and did very well. So far as I've heard.
Is he still on loan?
Sorry. So he was on loan with Bromley at the first part of last season, and then joined us in January. But then rejected a contract from Preston, left as a free agent, and joined Bromley.
Oh, really? I liked him a lot.
No, I did as well. But wasn't to be for the team with an amazing nickname. They're called the Ravens. I don't know why, but I love it. What do we love more than a cool nickname? We love a Crewe comeback victory thanks to goals from.
Did
Go on.
did they win? Whatever they call Bromley.
Did Bromley win against Crewe?
No, Bromley. No. Well, oh, of course we were playing Bromley. Never mind. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. And to be honest, this game is a tale of substitutions. So on came in the second half Jack Lancaster, Joel Taberner, and Chris Long. Joel Taberner's free kick was poked in by Mickey Demetriou on 83 minutes. And then
Mickey Dimitri.
Jack Lancaster's absolute peach of a cross. I don't know whether you've seen it. It's whipped in with some pace, and it was headed in at the back stick from Chris Long for our first win of the season. General consensus from Crewe fans seems to be that we played a lot better than we have, but still not great. Created chances which
can't have been any worse.
Created chances, which at least is a good thing. And we've got bottom of the table Morecambe next week, who we haven't talked about yet, but we've got bottom of the table Morecambe at home on Saturday.
Let's not discuss it too much, otherwise we'll probably end up shooting ourselves in the foot again.
No, I know. How about this, by the way, for an interesting story? Carlisle's Wembley hero in the season when they were promoted to League One through the playoffs was Omari Patrick. He came back to Brunton Park and scored twice for Tranmere to give them a 2-1 win. Both goals from Patrick, sandwiched with an Archie Davis goal in the middle of them. Saw the end also of the manager that he helped get promoted. Carlisle parted company with Paul Simpson, which is a shame because he loved the club and is a hero at the club and did a lot of good things for them.
After that game, they parted company.
Yeah, a few hours after, yeah.
All right. Oh dear, his old striker coming back to haunt him.
I tell you what, goal just from like sort of. It was second phrase from a corner. It's an absolute screamer. Really good. You should watch it if you've not seen it.
I will.
Good. That reminds me. I know Will hasn't been keeping up with the highlights, but have you?
Yeah.
Good boy.
Most of them, yeah.
It's what I like to hear. Just switching out my AirPods because they're about to die.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it for that one. Just wanted to say I'm pretty upset with the sacking of Paul Simpson, but I think it was coming. They've had sort of fresh new owners. This rich kind of Floridian family come in sort of like January time last year,